Frank, how are you? Will, how are you? Good.
I saw a building today.
Yes.
Put up.
Yeah.
We'll call the meeting to order. Tim, notice?
Village Township Committee meeting, March 6, 2018. Adequate notice of this meeting is given in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act by mailing the schedule of the Township Committee to the Express Times and York Shore Ledger newspaper, posting a copy on the Township Bulletin Board, and filing a copy with the Township Clerk.
Roll call.
Cron.
Here.
Dean.
Here.
Spencer.
Here.
Marqueta.
Here.
Parsons.
Here. Please stand for the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start, I don't know if anybody noticed, the governor declared a state of an emergency for tomorrow. The county did. I just signed one for Joe Mexi, so I think, what we make it effective? Just put it away. It's effective 9 p.m. tonight. So, just so you know, as of 9 p.m. we'll be in a state of an emergency. Just 3 weeks ago, we discussed about the building, whether it should be open or closed, and I said anything but a state of emergency. Since the governor's declared a state of emergency, does anybody see any reason why we shouldn't close the building, or what's their thoughts on that? We're all okay with that?
I had a brief conversation with Jamie that I told her I already didn't think she'd be coming in tomorrow,
Okay.
you know, so.
You're already telling us stay off the roads.
Yeah, I think we should stay in compliance with the governor's request, so,
Should close.
we're gonna close.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
I'll text Danielle.
Yes, please, yeah. And I think that's all I had. That's it, I can remember now. Okay, discussion on the budget. Where we stand? Who wants to take the lead here? What are we?
Well, Brad and I have had a lot of discussions. I'm not sure what I should talk about in open session based on certain numbers with the accumulated sick time and vacation.
Oh, yeah, we probably
But
should.
I double-checked health insurance, I double-checked streets and roads, salaries and wages, and everything that I had in there is right on target. So, how did we leave it last time? You and I had discussed maybe trying to squeeze a little bit more into somewhere, just in case things got a little crazy this year.
Yeah, I think some of the open questions were, you were going to go back and talk to the chief, which I think you did.
Yeah.
We were also going to verify the DPW. So, when that position's out, the whole thing, right?
Yep.
So that's out.
Which position?
The one that we're gonna hire in case we did something next door.
Yeah. We didn't know if, in the numbers that we had last time, if it was just half or if it was the whole thing.
You took the whole thing out.
Yes,
Yeah.
But we left him one part-timer?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm trying to remember what else we had open.
I double-checked the health insurance, like I said. I'm under the impression that Scott Ferguson is not taking
I signed the
benefits.
waiver, I have his
Okay.
waiver form, he signed the waiver, I gave him a dental form. He said he was gonna talk with his wife, but just that dental insurance, he's gonna talk with them
Okay,
about, the dental insurance.
so what I put in, I'm comfortable with that number. It's not overly budgeted or anything like that. I double-checked what all the full-timers pay into it, and that was spot on, so. I think Paul had some questions too. Maybe there's some fears that we could talk about with using the deferred school tax, the road program.
Well, yeah,
Before we tie this down and say, okay, we're ready to.
Right.
Right, because Kathleen, because the bottom line is, if I'm not mistaken, that we've kind of, from the deferred school tax, we've allocated another $250,000 out of next year. And then John was under the impression that he thought it was going to be ending, but the reality of it is we can't end that. But yet, I don't think the deferred school tax...
Can end what?
We can't end spending $250,000 a year on road maintenance or, resurfacing. I mean, the roads are you know, you've seen your neighborhood and this and that. I mean, in theory, they're supposed to be done every 20 years, and we're already well behind on a lot of the roads. We're probably 5, 6, 7 years behind. But continuing to use the deferred tax at $250,000 a shot is also eventually going to deplete that out to a low number. My thought was, and again, talking about increasing taxes is always a challenging thing, but I think if we designated another cent, not only this year, for the next 4, and let that become a self-funded $250,000 to take us away from the deferred tax. Because, again, eventually we're going to deplete that number. And at some point, we have to take responsibility for, you know, milling and resurfacing roads.
So explain to me, if it's 250,000 and you wanted to add a cent,
I said, you know,
so
let's
that's
just...
only 60,000.
50, no, yeah, call it 60 this year,
like
but then you add a
90
cent next
deferred.
year, 60.
So you're only looking at, so what are you gonna do with how are you gonna fund the rest of it? If you don't,
Well, next year, you're going to do another 60.
yeah, but the balance of that
You're still
250.
pulling some of it out of
From
the
the
deferred.
deferred.
Yeah, I
But
think
we're going to
they say
eventually
from
eliminate the
190
deferred
to-
over 5 years, and then have a sustainable program that the community's already collecting $250, $260 forever. Of course, that only works while we're talking about it. I mean, anybody can change that. But the reality is, it becomes, after the end of the 4th year, it becomes a self-sustaining program for road resurfacing in the township. Because, to be quite honest, I don't know that it ever goes away, because I think by the time we get the last road done,
Oh, probably, yeah.
you're going to be already talking about it. And there's a couple of ones, Bob, down by you, that Joe's already brought up, Roberts, but that needs curbing in total. So that, you know, there's more than just resurfacing that.
So,
Those roads are, this curve is 45 years old.
Yeah, right. So there's a couple of them, you know, unfortunately, not everything's a curbing, a lot of it's just milling and paving. But there's a couple of very short lengths of roads, Kennedy Mill Road, Roberts Place, that are going to be a chunk, because that's also going. So I just think it's our responsibility to have some type of a plan going further, not using the deferred tax.
right, and that's a good point, but the only problem is when you add that cent, if you don't put it, just like the open space tax, right? There's rules around it. You can only use it for open space.
Well,
You add a cent, there's no guarantee.
Well, that's what, and I understand that, and you're absolutely, that's what I'm saying. A committee 5 years from now can take that, you know, $250,000 and do whatever they want with it. So I don't know if there's a way to protect,
Unless you add the cent to the capital improvement fund, you put that money in capital.
well, and again, I don't know if there's a way to do that so that we can keep everybody out of that and lock it in for future road. I'm not that savvy as to how that process works.
Can we make it a road improvement fund, or?
I put it in the, you can do a reserve for road improvements, you could do that, or we could put it in capital.
Could anybody end it at any given time, though, or?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
That's the
see,
problem.
that's the problem.
That's the problem.
Right.
So
But you
expensive.
end it, but at
Well-
least what you have there is there.
Okay, but, so, well then,
And you could always, you could still take it out of that fund too, right? There's no rules around it where you could say nobody can raid that fund.
Well, as long as it's a capital project, it doesn't have to necessarily go to roads, though.
It would have to be a capital project, so I mean, I suppose they could say, well, we want to use that for a building,
Yeah.
but more often than not, I'm thinking it'll be a road project.
just, and again, not knowing, is that something that then you put it out as a binding referendum like open space tax? You know, put a graduated tax over 4 years?
Well, we can't do binding referendums. Like, our form of government doesn't allow binding.
Okay.
Well, you could do a non-binding.
Yeah, you can
Oh, a non-bond,
Just
well, I mean, just
yeah.
like our open space tax, and say, you know, over the course of
Yeah,
the
the
next
space
4
was
years.
was binding on it, wasn't it?
Oh, it was, but we can't do that
Because
then?
there were rules around
No,
that.
yeah, we just can't do...
But you could
binding-
do it if you want to get if you want to just feel how the public is reacting to
Yes.
it.
Well, yeah,
You can do it, and that's something,
The only problem with that is, if you got the referendum, as long as it says Do you want to?
No, right.
That's enough.
No, all I'm trying to
Yeah,
do is,
it's gonna be enough.
no, right. I'm really trying to, I don't know that it would be, but it would be a challenge. Try to secure a permanent means of funding for resurfacing roads in this township. You know, otherwise someday it's gonna come down to, well, you know what, we need to bond $2.5 million, you know, to catch it back up or something like that.
Yeah.
I just think if we could start to plan that now, we'd be so much better off.
Just like putting $50,000 a year away for a fire truck.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I'm not even going on that level right now. I'm focused on roads, because that's we're behind on it, and it's a big chunk of money.
So who would be able to research that question? Like, who, Paul wants to see if there's a way we can just put it in the
I'll ask
capital.
John about a reserve.
I'd have to ask Slavery. We're not looking for an answer tonight, right?
No, but I mean, if we were going to start to collect that 1 cent, and this was the time to do it,
So now that would put us at 5.9.
is this school going to be flat this year?
I don't know.
I mean,
haven't,
what about, because isn't a bond up in June and something like that?
It was
So,
paid off in January, so their budget starts July 1, so it'll be out of their July 1.
right, so shouldn't that show a decrease then? It's,
Bond will bring it down. I've asked for the numbers. I don't know what the numbers are yet, but based on what I know, I think it's like 9 cents on the bond. But then they have their operational fund, so that can go up, you know, anywhere from minimally 2.
yeah, I was going to say, you thought 2% or whatever.
Plus, if they
Right,
have bank cap, they can do that.
right. So, but if the bond was dropping 9, we're going up 4, the county's going to be flat.
Well, you wouldn't be going up 4, though, if you want to do this.
No, we'd be going up 5. No,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, so
so it's still coming down 4,
minus 9 plus 5.
maybe not get caught up in the jungle.
Well, they're going to have their operational fund, which is minimally 2% is at least 3 cents.
Oh, 3 cents, oh,
$4
okay.
million budget, right?
And then if they have
Yeah.
bank cap, then it's going to go more, so then it goes to, 0 or
Gotcha.
plus 1 or 2, which,
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out how we can maintain without hitting that school, the deferred tax each and every time and depleting that down. I think we've got to come up with and obviously, it doesn't necessarily need to happen here, but if that can become some forward thinking, because we've got to put something in place to take care of that. Otherwise, that's going to be a big credit card bill one day.
yeah, I totally agree with you. I think we need to do a whole asset plan, like a 20 and 30-year asset plan where it's the roads and it's every piece of equipment, because all that should be funded through the capital. And if you figure out, you just do what your current inventory is on your assets, all your equipment and vehicles, and then how many miles of road.
Capital improvement fund. Just suck it
Yeah.
away.
But we could do that. I mean, we could put something together and come up with a real plan and scope it out over 30 years. And figure useful life of a road is what,
20.
30 years?
20.
Just 20?
There's a lot of things that I think we need to plan for. One of them I saw one of the towns, actually my old town where I came from, like the police chief that retired, $250,000 payoff. Are we prepared if anybody in our town retires and needs a certain payoff for vacation or...
Well, no, we're not.
Right, exactly, so...
Right.
You should really have that.
We need to have a reserve for
Sure,
that too,
sure.
because you're gonna get hit,
We
like
started that last year.
so what's in there now, do we know?
So we put 5,000 in last year and 5,000 in this year's budget. I was looking at that too. I talked to John Mooney about it. He says that you can take any money from the 2017 budget that was dedicated for salaries that wasn't spent and put it into that account. So I can take out 10,000 from streets and roads. So we'll have 20,000 in that account. I know
So there's
seems like
that.
a lot, but
So yeah, there are things we gotta plan for. We were Paul about the roads, this is something, there's also the tax lien challenges that every town gets every year. And we don't really, do we have a fund for that? Do we have a tax appeal fund? No. So those are three things right there that I just gotta take this part with it.
I think the tax appeal is a pretty recent problem. It only really started since the market dropped in 2009 when people started to win huge tax.
Yeah, and with that being said, I think we're really only dealing with one. She doesn't have anything else on the books.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Well, it's a big one. Not arguing that.
If you had a wide open buzz, like we weren't so up against it, I would say, yeah, sure, let's start a reserve for tax appeals, but you have so much more going on.
Yeah, as far as priority goes.
And I say it all the time, and I feel like we just don't, other than people, after people, we don't really have a whole lot of stuff in the budget. And we don't have a lot of people. I mean,
No.
we're far less than 15 people in the township, but,
With bare bones.
yeah, we're bare bones. I mean, people don't, and if I was sitting out there and didn't know any better, I'd sit there and figure everybody's giving me a line of crap too, because that's the line that the full-time politicians have been given for years, But,
I mean, again, some people that I talk to, because I know Frank is definitely on the frugal side of things. He just tax increases just rub him the wrong way, and I certainly understand that. But this community has always kind of rallied behind paying their fair share of the school, didn't mind ponying up for recreation and things of that nature. I think there's a silent majority out there that truly feels that our municipal tax isn't horrible. And that if it was clearly explained to them, and of course there's nobody here, and saw the actual fine line of the budget, they probably wouldn't have a problem. But you gotta take that leap at some point, and I just, maybe this is the year to start, and when they ask, you have that explanation. I mean, we got 2 cents are basically for cost of living and normal increases, and then we've got the 2 cents for debt, and then all of a sudden you say, well, you got another cent for,
I thought it was 3 cents for debt and 1,
Oh, that could have been, all right, I thought it was 2 and 2, but
Am I right?
3 and 1.
What did the open space decide last night?
On the
Anything?
payment?
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't change the tax rate, though.
Did they change, because we had put in, remember we upped it the last meeting?
That doesn't impact this, though.
Well, John,
no.
he's taking, we jumped it from 20,000, well, no, it doesn't impact the budget overall.
We have to give you the figure
Yeah,
because for the debt payment.
right.
well, let's do, where are we at? You're talking, we know we're at 4 cents about, for everything that's done. You're talking about adding a penny
4.1 still?
for
Capital.
improvement. So where we're at is, do we think we have anywhere at all where we cut? Or are we just at the point where we're throwing our hands up saying we don't know what else we can do?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else you can do. I don't think there's anything you can cut. There's no chance of, or no sign of ratables coming in, so.
We just do not have large, we don't have any large accounts to go to and.
No.
I've sat here since I started here, and all I've heard is the public saying they wanted their police force back. Well, they got it.
Yeah.
And they're
Right.
being productive, and it seems to
Right.
be going well, but you have to pay for it.
Yeah,
Right.
well, yeah, and no one's complaining about that. I guess what I'm saying is, I'm looking for someone to give me an answer that I can't find, is I don't know.
Well, I don't think there
Other
is
than
an
cutting
answer.
people, if there's anything to cut. I mean, you have any suggestions?
No, there's-
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, the only issue I have is like, why the roads and why not the police payout fund, or why not the, taxing fund? It's like, these are all issues that are gonna, I think the tax lien stuff comes up almost all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm settling on the roads
Well,
because
you
I
were
think
out
that's
in
the biggest
room,
challenge.
though, and he said he spoke to all Louise, and this.
Yeah, there's really nothing big going on right now.
Okay, that's good.
So that's, but the one we got facing us is
Right.
a challenge.
Right. And I still think, and I could be wrong, but when the county library is all said and done, I think we're losing 66,000 there.
No, we are.
Right.
Right.
So I'm talking about putting some in capital, but we might be looking for another 66 someplace else, next
Right.
year.
Yes.
So, I fortunately and unfortunately, the cost of everything is on the taxpayers' shoulders here, and things are only gonna go up, and we need to start planning, for the future. You just can't wait for it to fall apart. And I just think this is part of where we're at right now.
What road did you get the grant for next year?
Washington Street, right out here.
Okay.
And with that being said, we all saw that we got that grant, and actually, I think that grant's gonna cover that completely, because Rio Tinto's doing half, and that grant was for 3/4 of the whole thing.
I thought Mike Finelli said it was not gonna cover
Yeah,
his fees
he
at
said
all.
it
There's
wasn't
no
gonna be
way.
enough.
There'll be additional fees, so we're gonna have to fund that too.
I don't know how could, if there was enough to do 3/4 of it, and Rio Pinto is doing half of it, I would think that there's plenty to do the other half.
Well, you said it's Washington Street, isn't Rio Tinto doing Pace Center?
Well, they're doing all of that too, but
Bridge.
we got a grant for that because they're coming right down Washington Street.
Okay.
So they're gonna do half of it anyway, and I thought that 155,000 on the grant.
Mike says no.
Yeah.
I could have sworn he told me there'd be
I-
engineering fees.
Well, engineering fees is another whole
I'm just
conversation.
wondering if it's really too late for us to throw that in this year.
Well, and that's,
I'm wondering
I
if
probably
maybe-
should have had this conversation a
We talked
while
about
ago.
Brad working with the CFO.
Well, Brad's been
and
doing a
maybe
good
you-
job of educating me.
Yeah, and you, I was gonna say, maybe you and he and Kathleen could start meeting now, and we can have special meetings to discuss next year's budget already, because maybe, not even the budget, but the finances of the township, when we come in maybe 3 times during the course of the year, because we do this every year, we get down to, we want to pass a budget, and we kind of rush, and then we forget about the budget until January.
No, right.
I'm just wondering if it's kind of like too late to throw the 1 cent into
And it
this.
might be, I thought this was late to have this conversation, and I didn't want to
Let's
belittle it or anything like that, but like I
I
said,
know
between
Brad
John,
has offered
Kathleen,
to
and Brad, though,
help
you know,
do
they're...
some of the finance. Only 2 people can be on it, obviously.
Right.
You seem to be pretty...
I don't know that I'm anywhere near that. It's just a thought process that, because I know we've used the expression on several things about everybody kicking the can.
Well, I mean, if you don't want to do it, I'll do it. Maybe Brad and I and Kathleen and
Yeah, because I'm not a finance
John
guy.
Mooney could meet a couple of times and start looking at next year for capital financing. I mean, how do you feel on that? I'm not...
No,
Don't do the one.
Don't do the one this time, because I think it's a little sticker shock for some of us.
Well,
And,
we're at 4.1, right? That's where we're at. So 4.1, when we did a calculation of the percentage increase, is it on the total of the operational and the open space combined?
Yes.
Okay. So that's 51.3, I think, right? So right now, we're at 7.9%. So if you add another penny, it's going to be another 1.9%, which would put us
He told us last time it was 7.9, 5.92 for debt and 2%
Yeah, that's it.
for increase. So that's where we're at now, right?
Yep.
7.9.
7.9 is where we're at. Yeah, it's like 5.8, 5.9 for debt. And that debt, it's split, 50% of that is for the 2015, so 3% is for paying 2015, 2.9%. Then 2.9% is for the equipment from last year. And then you have 2%, 2.1% for your operational expenses, which, you know, that's within cap. Here's the thing, though. We can go up the penny, but it has to go to the capital, right? It has to be that. You can't put it in the appropriations.
Exactly.
So you don't even have a choice. It has to go in capital. You're talking about almost a 10% increase. It would be 9.1% if you did that. That's what you're looking at.
I was actually hoping that you might have some savings to get us below 4.1.
Wow.
I know you wanted to talk
Now,
about the police.
what's one penny?
overtime.
yeah.
What's the average assessed house in?
They say 277, 272, something like that.
72.
272?
272, 272.
272
272, 272.
times .05.
Hello.
So,
$27.
I'll
Next
speak
year.
to, I talked to him too. He somewhat committed to like the $27,000 that we could cut in overtime, but I had already taken 14,000 just to come under cap. So if you factor that in,
Be like 8,
yeah, we might as well just, we're right at the expenditure cap now, you might as well just leave it there.
or get
It's
us,
not gonna mean a whole lot.
will get us under 4. That 8 get us under 4?
But in the grand scheme of things, what does it mean to the taxpayer? Not a whole lot.
We'll see what Bob says.
So presently, the 4.1 cents on a $272,000 house. It's $111. In other words. Call it 112.
Yeah, because I thought...
He
it
has
said, like-
111. He already has this. He has it all
Oh,
calculated.
it's over there? Oh. Shit. I was right.
So,
Yeah.
so like a typical home, all right,
So 4.1 cents is $111. 5.1 cents would be $138.
So you're $20.
$27. Percentage-wise, it looks terrible.
Right? But
Dollar-wise, it's $27 a year.
yeah, I mean, that's a way to rationalize it, I guess.
And
But-
if somebody wants to bring the percentage number up, that's how you're gonna have to rationalize it and say, whoa, I know the percentage looks wrong, but the reality of it is, it's $27.
See, here's the thing, I don't know that the 60,000 is real, I mean, like I said, you got these two other things that we're not solving, right? We have, well, forget about the tax thing. Do we know, are there any upcoming retirements in the next 5 years?
No.
Not out of PD.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah,
good.
I think the closest one was like 9 years.
But there's a whole formula, right?
High 10.
That you can use to
10.
figure out how much you should be setting aside for accrued time based on your contracts.
I mean, if we're gonna look at this, then maybe we should look at that too.
No, sure.
I would think next thing would be,
Yeah, he'd probably be the closest, right?
yeah.
Yeah, he's only
Yeah, but you still, what about the police,
55?
though? They have sick time, too.
Yeah, I think Joe's, 52 or so, or something like that, so he's got some time.
That's your point. You don't,
No.
All I know
Do
is,
they only get it upon retirement, or what if they resign? They don't get it then, right?
What's that?
there's no cap?
The sick time.
No.
Really?
For what?
Sick time for the police department, yeah.
On retirement?
Yeah.
That's capped at 15.
Since when?
Since 2011, chapter 78. That was done at the end of their contract.
so explain
They
that
have
to
a new
me.
contract.
Explain it to me. So they can only get
Was it
$15,000
capped when I
for
retired?
their accrued, for their
Were
accrued
you under a
time?
contract signed before 2011?
Yep.
Well, if it was before 2011, you could get paid.
No, sorry, my contract, was open, it was negotiating, and, I got full.
Well, if you have a new one, the old rates and benefits stay in effect until new one
Yeah,
becomes
I
effective.
don't know if it came out.
When chapter 78 was, whatever contract was in effect at the time of the signing, you had to continue getting the benefit from that contract.
But the one that,
Once they renegotiated, chapter 78 kicked in for that.
the one that, the law that they changed for that was never reintroduced in the Senate also. That's the one I fell under for the retirement part of it, and the expiration expired on it, and the governor never re-upped it.
So it's a
Oh.
moot point.
What's that?
Never
The
mind.
accumulated absences, it's inside cap, so we can't raise
You
it
can't do
anyway.
anything.
So we're back to capital improvement fund, which you can go crazy with,
Yeah, it's like, cap is up, capital is outside.
you know.
How do you prepare for something like that then? I might say,
You gotta put it in your budget.
which
well, you can't.
Well, you can't.
Well, we
Or
already put
maxed out.
5,000 in.
Right.
I know that seems meaningless, I suppose, in the grand scheme of things, but you started to
Right,
attempt to do it. It's not your
Okay.
fault it wasn't done before.
yeah.
And if you're doing 5,000 every year and nobody's that close, it gets up to 45, 50,
But like
obviously not
just said,
300.
When's
but-
Joe? Like, when's, you know, is he coming up?
He got 5
The
years.
right way to do it is...
Yeah, I was gonna say, he's probably got 5, 7 years.
Okay.
He just had a birthday the other day. How
Yeah,
much?
March 3rd.
So he could technically go 55, correct?
Yes.
It's 28 years.
Yeah, it could, but I
And then
didn't get
how
the
would,
impression that
then
he
how would
was.
that work? He would get all accrued vacation time, or is that the cap?
We
So,
bought back when he was, when he went from road department to the supervisor, we bought back all his time and he started fresh.
So, and according to your policy, you're only entitled to half.
With
So you're
vacation.
allowed to, you're allowed to...
Half the sick days, and you can only carry 5 vacation, so at most he's sitting on 5. Oh, okay, at most he's sitting on 5.
okay.
No, so you can carry, well, he gets 25 days, so he would have 30 vacation days a year. He can only carry over 5, but he can accrue up to 100 sick days. Upon leaving, he's only entitled to half.
100 sick days, or 100 sick days is 800 hours.
Is that according to our policy?
That was the policy that he was grandfathered under the contract. So he could accrue up to 100
He
sick
doesn't,
days.
he doesn't have a contract, so he can't be grandfathered under anything.
Well, that's what,
He gave all that up, so there's no more
Yeah.
union.
so,
There's no collective
so
bargaining
then how
agreement.
many sick days can he accrue?
Whatever's according
Whatever
to the personnel
policy.
policy, I would think.
Yeah.
This just says the maximum of 30 days, and then the last sentence says employees will not be paid for the total accumulated under sick time at the time the employee resigns or retires from the firm.
But did the police have it in a contract, how much sick days you can cash in upon retirement?
Well, if it's capped at 15,
Well, if it's in a contract, it's different, like we had 1,000 hours.
yeah, but it's,
I don't
depends
think,
on the
I don't
per
think
day.
that, I'm not gonna argue because I'm not positive, but after 2011, it was illegal to negotiate more than 15,000 a year.
It was in our contract.
Well, I'd have to see the contract, and I have to read Greenwich's, but
I think I saw him in Greenwich's contract.
Yeah, we-
2000.
I know that's how, at
We
the
had
school,
980 hours we were
What's
capped
that?
at.
capped, 15,000 under chapter 78, but what's
What's that,
important...
15,000 total
It's a
payout?
maximum you
regardless of
get.
how many sick days
But
you have.
what's
you can only
important,
get-
though-
Maximum you get is 15.
Was it-
50% of your sick time paid back up to $15,000.
Theirs wasn't, it wasn't 50%, so they had, in their contract, it's written that it's, cost per day, and it's not their salary per day, it's a negotiated part of the contract. So, the last I was there, it was $75 a day,
Right.
so they would have to accrue 200 sick days to get to max. So what's the other part that's important, is knowing how much you're paying per sick day, because the more, obviously, then it's the less days.
So when you do form that budget committee, I think this has to be up there.
Oh,
You
yeah.
need to evaluate
We have to figure out exactly what we may
what
owe.
what we're come up against in the next, who may be retiring or whatever.
Well, even if it's not close, you want to, the prudent thing to do would be put away a little bit every year.
So I'm telling you, unless you're dedicated, it's not going to be put away.
Well,
It's going to get taken.
And dedicated, you dedicate it while you're on the committee. and then
Yeah,
Yeah.
after
You just
that-
hope.
It's not,
Right.
at your meeting next week, you're gonna see a resolution to create a dedicated trust fund, that's where this money's going.
uh-huh.
So it can't be used for anything else.
Okay,
Oh,
well, that's good.
in that case,
Well, there you go.
yeah.
All right. That's
Well,
good enough.
until the next committee comes in and does a resolution,
Yeah.
we're sending that resolution.
Listen, all we could do is,
Yeah, you can only put
Do
it
the
in
right
motion.
thing.
You can
Right.
only do what you can control.
yeah.
Right.
All right, so where are we now then? We're still,
Back to,
so you want to hear what Brad made a case again to go up, that we'll, yeah, I'll let you go.
Well, I'm not saying go up or not, I'm just saying where we are. 4.1 pennies translates to 7.9% increase over our current tax rate, which equates to, I'm going to round up to $112 on an average house. If you add the penny, the percentage increase looks to be 9.8%. The dollars to the average homeowner at $272,000 would be $138. So it would go up $27 for the extra penny.
what's the average home
272,
272.
272.
There's a lot of homes for
Well,
350, so
Oh, there's a lot of homes for more than
Just
that,
do
right?
1 penny times 3,500, so if you have a $350,000 home, it's 35 bucks.
Well, what are the, what is that?
$400,000, it's 40 bucks.
Wasn't there just a home in, there was just a, didn't Elaine just sell her home for like 600, 700,000?
Did she get 600,000? I know she was...
Yeah,
Some
I
of them,
think that was
right?
565.
So you're talking, there's some $600,000 homes
I guess
there.
what I'm getting at though is, you're not even talking about a home here or a home there, you're talking about neighborhoods. So now you're talking maybe 52 people saying, my taxes went up $200.
Yeah.
It's not like the guy with the $355,000 home, I mean, the $550,000 home is going to be next to the guy with the $277.
No, you're right.
And he's going to say to his neighbor, man, did you see what happened to taxes? And the guy at 277 goes, not bad, $100.
Right, no,
They're all
right,
doing
right,
what shows
The other
development's
guy-
going.
Right.
So they're all going to sit there and
If
say,
you're in a $600,000 home, you might doing pretty good.
If that's not gonna cut
nobody
it.
likes paying
Believe me,
taxes.
nobody
Even
likes
me.
it.
I don't know, nobody up there is going to take a say,
Yeah.
I love to come down on the first of those 4 times a year and pay that tax. I mean,
Probably would.
400,
Was he, with development?
that's it.
yeah.
I thought that's where Lane was, right? So you're
Yeah.
talking, that's a lot of, those are big lots and a lot of money, those homes.
But I don't think their prices are as high as like what Green's Ridge and is, or Kennedy.
He's about 400.
Who?
Charles House.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, in those homes, I don't think there's price as high as like Kennedy or, you know, so, I don't, you know, well, I think this is where we're at. How
Well,
comfortable we are between 4%,
you were in there
4
with-
cents and 5 cents.
Kathleen mentioned you may have 8,000 from that 20 that you were talking about.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, you tell me.
I said that you had met with Hummer and
Yeah.
agreed to possibly 27,000 cut in overtime.
Mhm.
I had already taken 14.
Yeah, I didn't know that when I said that, but.
Right, so. I mean, for
You
$8
took
grand
14?
to me, I did to come under
Yeah.
the expenditure
So-
cap.
So what you want to get her from the 4.1, like, you want to get her 4 cents, right? That's what you're saying.
If we don't need it, I don't think we should use it.
I think
That's
we're
my
gonna
opinion.
Well, I think the first thing we got to resolve is, are we talking 5 cents or 4 cents?
And I don't really think we should cut the police part down too low, because
No.
we're gonna get whacked. And then
We're
gonna be
still at
scrambling.
comfortable levels if we stay within that 27.
Right.
Well, you're not, you're taking, you already said you took 14, so it's
Yeah.
not
I had
27.
to do.
Right.
but
So we could
take
take another 14, probably. 14 is 28.
ice.
Not
Rain.
moved, yeah, not moved. But
What do you mean more? No,
he
it's
would
not
like,
in the
he would like
police
to- he would
anymore.
like to reduce the tax impact.
It's not in the police anymore, because Will said he doesn't want to take any more from, I just want, we are taking from the police though, right, or no? Is it coming out of the police or not, the 14?
Yeah, I already took.
Yeah, see?
But
that
we
was
shouldn't take
reappropriated.
any more.
Right, you don't want to
But-
take any more, okay.
No,
all
I
right.
cut.
You cut 14, oh, to get under the
Come
2%,
cap,
okay.
yep.
But I think what Frank's saying is he'd like to use some of that and try to reduce from the 4.1, 4...
You want an even 4 cents.
Or below.
Well. But let's, before we get to the 4, are we pretty much giving up on the 5 for this year, and we're gonna do what we're talking, and try to do something for next year, or?
Well, we,
Because I'm listening to the two sides of the table.
yeah, no, yeah, I don't, yeah,
So,
Paul Bean can personally afford another 27 bucks, but I certainly hear the conversation about neighborhoods, you know, but, I mean, sooner or later, it's gotta start, you know, so if it starts here tonight, I'm certainly okay with it, but, you know, there's 4 other people
well, we've got the
here.
whole penny, we're talking about 5.1
Right.
right now, so I think maybe we've got to go back to, we got to get underneath the 4 to go to the flat 5, because I don't think anybody wants to put 5.
Right, well, I don't think we can get under the 4, so 4.1 or whatever.
I want, if we go there, then,
It's extremely tight.
right, you're never gonna be able to tell the police no, because of the animal that they are. So I need you to be prepared then to say to DPW, no, you can't do that project. If it gets close to the end of the year and it's looking tight.
What kind of project, like,
Anything. I mean, now Joe's probably gotta buy more salt now, so we're gonna have to project. I don't know what projects he has planned.
he's got a lot of gutters to do, he's got a lot of work.
Well, then, that's what I'm saying. You
But
have
he
to say
does have that
something.
budgeted though, and
Actually, it's a
He
good...
should have all his work budgeted though. And
Yeah,
that's-
but I'm saying if I need to dip into his budget to cover other things,
You might have to cut a program out.
Since we're talking about that, because that was one of the things I wanted to cover, was because I was going through the original documents Joe gave us from back when, and I know he said the capital expenditures he had, they were out, right? We didn't put any of that in, so there was a list of $33,000 of capital items, so this is
hot
out.
box and all that.
Yeah, there's the hot box, the
What about that?
brine side unit, the grass seeder aerator's out, and then there was some air compressor stuff and shop stuff.
Well,
These
that-
other-
just asking
hold on,
about the
that compressor and shop stuff, was that under the fire? They lost
No,
from
this
fire?
is all of his wish list capital items.
Okay.
He had an air compressor, shop press, drill press, and a pesticide sprayer. But none of that we put in. So now we go to his operating expenses, so I'm not talking about salaries, I'm talking about his other stuff, where he laid out crack sealing, asphalt repair, stormwater system, street signs, materials for winter, shop supplies, et cetera, et cetera. This was a total of 151. Is that all in?
Yes.
The crack sealings really helped out.
Oh, yeah, that's way important, yeah.
So that's all in, okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn because I agree with Paul. I don't want to kick the can down the road either. But I don't want a large tax increase.
Well, and again, and John's done, and last year, again, being first year, you guys have had just a tad bit more experience, Franklin particularly, but John's clearly explained that you can't let that deferred school tax get
No, I agree.
too far down there.
Yeah, no, I agree.
This next year is one that the program that the previous committees didn't do, that's kicked in now?
What?
The resolution that they never completed a couple of years ago, and we just,
Capital, yeah, that's fully funded now.
is it?
Yep.
Yeah, we did that this year. yeah.
Are we able to do our first reading next week already for the budget?
Well, that's what we're trying to, we'd like to,
I'm not rushing you.
Well,
Well, the governor hasn't even made his announcement yet, so...
Right, we anticipated on the 13th.
can we crunch and not, can we send you back with another homework assignment and come back with the flattened nickel, not 5.1, the flattened nickel, and see where we stand, and maybe next time we could agree on that? I mean, does that sound like an idea? I'm asking the guys up here, not you. Oh.
I mean, I'm still at the 4-1, but
I know.
that's your prerogative. You
I'm
can-
just throwing something out here, because we gotta break this logjam somehow, or we gotta make a decision somewhere along the line, so.
what is that .1?
Pretty much has the numbers, Peggy, thank you.
What's the point, how much does that represent, the .1? How much money?
.1,
Yeah, what,
tax
Like $6,000, isn't that like?
Yeah, what is it?
Tenth of a 60,000, right?
No, because he said to go to 5 even, so that's...
Yeah, no, right.
.1, I'm
Yeah,
just wondering what that is.
Yeah, it's $6,000.
It's not 6,000 to come down to one to get an 84.
I mean, I'm not trying to work Joe over, but his budget's the easiest one to attack. But I would think that there could be $6,000 that come out of that.
Whatever.
I mean, and I only say that, Joe does a wonderful job, it's just, all your other little line items, there's just nothing
Yeah.
there to cut.
Right.
Well,
He's got a lot of stuff on the plate.
Well, you had...
No, I know he does. I know he
we took
does.
14 out of the overtime account, so I think we could safely take 6, and that'd be an even 20.
What I'm seeing now, and if all that, but I don't know when vacation kicks in and all
Right.
that, but Rich has done a really good job in the month of February to get those numbers down, so right now it's looking good.
Well, you're willing to accept the assignment I suggested?
So what is the homework assignment? What a nickel means? Like,
No,
how you-
basically, to come back in with a flat nickel, not 5.1, but flat nickel, because Frank was trying to get down to the 4, and now we have this other suggestion that it goes up to 1, so I'm assuming if you wanted to go under 4, you'd be like trying to get under 5 now, and we're going to go up to penny. I mean, a lot of it is just symbolic, but and at least it's some sign that we're trying to do something to soften the blow, but, I mean, if you're talking, like $4 instead of $27, right?
Or, if you don't put the penny in this year, and I don't even know what the right answer is. I mean, I think where Paul's going is absolutely the...
Oh, absolutely.
is the thinking
Yeah,
we
I
have,
agree.
because-
Yeah.
And I think it has to go even broader by looking at all the assets
Yes.
and doing a whole plan. But if we don't put it in this year, well, let's just say, for argument's sake, the penny was the right number, then you'd have to do 2 cents next year.
Right.
But we have our debt piece with the 3 cents. I think we're fixed, right?
Yeah.
Right, has the 2015 payment, has last year's payment. The park is separate, so that's not part of this. There was no other debt increase that we needed to make, although I thought John said we may have needed a penny next year.
And that fire truck lease payment, or whatever it is going to be coming off in what, 2 years?
I thought he said next year. And actually, yeah, I think what John was saying was, about that penny.
Yeah, I don't
Because
find-
we were going to start to use that penny to also get away from
Yeah.
the deferred tax. Right.
Yep.
So we were already going to try to stop taking 60 grand out of it with the penny that he was talking about. And so, and if we can come up with another penny, then we're taking 120,000 less.
I mean, I think it's important that we get John here at the next meeting to give us some more feedback on the
We're gonna
deferred
have another
tax.
budget meeting, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't want to do this tonight in the township meeting.
No.
It just gets too long.
Because John, I mean, last time we talked about the deferred tax, John didn't come across as having a lot of concerns with it.
No, he thought it was fine right now, but,
I just want to hear him...
yeah, but the
I think we
reality
should-
of it is if you keep burning
I just, and I
200,
want,
250.
right, and I want to hear him say that, you
Okay.
know?
Yep.
And I agree, and, you can't keep going into it, 100% I
Right,
agree.
right.
You can't, it's gonna be gone if you keep doing it. So, I just don't know when. I know Bob had an idea of maybe holding off just this year, and we could start doing it next year with the proper, budget finance committee. I don't know, that's one option, I guess.
I don't see you guys being comfortable with 5 cents.
I'm not.
I know. But even, I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, what you made a comment, Brad, about if we don't do it this year and it's the right thing to
I'm
do,
good
then we
with it.
have to do 2 next year. That's not necessarily true, though. You think it's the right thing to do, you just delayed it a year.
You just
You
can't
know.
keep delaying it.
Well, I don't think, then, you could extrapolate on that too and say, well, then why not go a little higher? Because that's the right thing to do. There's always degrees to this thing, so,
We
I don't
have-
know.
I sent an email out to Joe and Mike, because, we talk piecemeal, and we do 1-year planning, which is just, it's not the way to plan.
Right.
And I said, how many miles of roadway do we have in this town that we own, that we have to resurface? It's 35 miles. And the way you should budget it is, you should
It's
take...
35 or 45?
Yeah, Joe said 35 in his email.
Yeah, I thought it was 45.
So just on the roads, you take 35, miles, divided by 20 or 30, let's just take 25 years. It's like 1.4, I don't know, what does that work out to be?
1.35 miles.
Divided by 25, yeah, 1.4, so how much is a mile of roadway cost to pave?
A lot.
I mean, is it 300, is it 400?
It's probably...
No, yeah.
300?
For a mile?
No, it's less than that.
Oh, it's every bit, 300,000.
You don't have to always pave either. You can chip and oil some of the roads. Right?
Just using an
Which I hate.
You ride a motorcycle, what do you want to say?
I know, but it's in our plan to do it.
So,
There's nobody saying not to do it, right?
let's just say it was 300 grand and 1.4 miles. You need 420,000 a year in that fund every year.
But what's a chip and oil program cost?
Oil chip just tries to extend.
Well, I was going to say, I'm under the impression oil and chip only adds 2.5 years.
I don't know.
I gotta find that out.
But oil and chip is...
All right, so let's take 35
Yeah, yeah,
miles
yeah.
and divide it by 30.
But you gotta, I mean, if you're gonna make a plan, you gotta figure that into
Yeah,
it,
Add 5
right?
years to
You're
it. Now
back
you're,
to inside cap with that, though, so that doesn't have a 5-year lifespan.
so you're looking at
Oh, oil
1.2 times 300, which is...
And they did the oil and chip up in the...
Well, we have there's a gentleman that lives in this
I
town,
don't
he
like
used
it,
to
I
be
personally hate it, but
superintendent.
I don't think we've
And
ever said we're not doing it.
I was picking his
Mike always
brains
brings
before
it
I
up, but
ever
we always
got up
okay
here.
it, you know what I mean?
Because
So,
I thought I was a
I
big
hate
chip
it.
and oil fan,
Motorcycle, I hate
and
it.
boy, I gotta
Jesus.
tell you, he chewed me up, and then when he defended it,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Grip.
oh, okay.
But-
I thought it was a good move, but he was able to really clear the point that it's a Band-Aid.
But where I'm going is, you need, let's just call it 360 to 420,000 a year just to replenish your roads on a 30-year cycle. That would cover every road.
Right, and I'm asking only to try to secure 250, so we're always gonna be behind.
Then you got all your equipment. You
Right.
have all your trucks, you got your fire, whenever that happens, and, that's another X dollars a year that you want coming into your fund every year so that you don't have to go out for this big giant bond at one
Yeah,
time.
you want 50 grand a year going into
Well,
fire fund.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And I don't want to
Yeah,
compare us to Lopakon Township by no means, but, and people certainly clearly complain over there about them, they definitely pay a higher municipal tax, but when their fire department needs a fire truck, they write the check.
Right, 'cause
When they need a piece of the DPW thing, they write the check. So their taxes are higher, but they are already
Capital reserve.
planning on what they need to purchase.
Yeah, that's-
Fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
Let's go.
But the-
You don't have a dedicated fund. We can't put this stuff in
No,
a dedicated fund. It's gonna be
No,
taken.
and I gotta tell you, that concerns me big
Yeah.
time, because I could certainly see
Who knows? There
that.
might have been previous committees that had a plan, and then another one came along and took it
I
away.
think that happened.
That happened.
I think that happened.
Improvement money for? That would be so
I mean,
horrific.
It's pretty evident.
Horrific? Or could
But
be,
they
they,
would probably use it in 1 year and, deplete it and not put it back.
But for capital purposes.
Yeah.
it could be
Well,
a
if they're not
frivolous
putting it
building
back,
that they
they
normally
put it
wouldn't
back.
do, but
You know
hey, we
what?
got the money,
Let
let's
me put
do
it
it.
this way, and I've said this before, I don't think anybody up here is really a politician. But if you get somebody who's worried about getting reelected all the time, and that's what we just went through here, it's, I'm up for reelection this year, I don't really want to raise taxes, and I need a fire truck. Let's take the $700,000 out of that capital reserve and buy them that, and I don't want to raise taxes. And then that's how my feeling is, that's how we got to where we're at, because that happened for a few years here. They didn't want to raise taxes, they borrowed from every account in the township, and that's what we're still paying for, and I know I'm beating the drum because we keep bringing it up, and I hate to keep bringing it up, because sooner or later, you gotta take responsibility and move on.
Well,
But
Frank, the last time you were on committee, and I don't remember how many years ago.
2004. It was a long time ago.
Right, but how,
I don't remember.
if I recall though, there was over $1 million surplus in the bank back then, right?
So I don't remember back then.
No, well, I kinda do, and don't, but, everybody's
Million
kept,
surplus.
but that was just, that we weren't spending, and it was there.
No, we had a big tax increase. We had money coming in at the time
from the building.
from the building fees, and they disappeared, and then town didn't
Yeah, I
pay
just
for
seem
it.
to recall there being
No.
a decent but we kept grabbing, 180,000 a year,
No, we
to
had
keep
big-
it flat,
When I was
200 a
married,
year.
we had like it was a big tax increase. Because of the fund, there was no money to be found. Because of the building funds stopped coming in, township never planned for it.
And it was just too much too fast for the township.
Yeah, we actually
Or-
cut spending that year, and we still had to have a decent increase because, once again, just like Bob said, things just don't get planned.
No, right.
So I think Brad's got on the right track and he's trying to do the right thing. So I'm 100% with him. I just don't know. It's like, how do you correct the sins of all the previous committees and then in one budget, or two budgets,
It's
or
not
three
gonna take-
budgets?
If
You
it
know?
took 6 years to break,
Well-
it's gonna take 6 years to fix.
Exactly. So I
Or
guess,
longer.
I guess that's where we're at.
You are longer,
Or
right,
longer.
right.
Is, are we willing to take the packed room for a couple of meetings if that's what happens? And,
You got it.
I just have to explain it.
yeah, I mean, I agree, but, so I think that's where we're at, is we're probably gonna have some people that come in up there saying,
You know what?
You always have.
Oh, yeah.
No, you're always, but I'll bet you that number is surprisingly low, Bob.
I think what you gotta do, you're gonna have to send out a letter.
and I used to use my neighbor lady as the example, but she's since passed away, but She's literally cried to me every time she got her tax bill, that I don't know how much more I can afford to stay here. So now her home it was probably over a little over 100,000 or something, but still, 80, $10 a month or something
Right,
like that
right.
is a lot. If you raise hers $100 a year, and not just us.
No, right. No, I know what you're saying, Bob. I know what you're saying.
So even though she's not there, I still try to be somewhat conscious.
I understand.
There are people in this township living on like $12,000 a year Social Security, nothing else.
That's right. So it's,
I mean, that's just a fact.
I'm not even half of that.
Huh?
I'm not even a quarter of that. With my pension.
No.
okay, so what are we
So-
doing?
Well, I guess you want to meet with John Mooney one more time.
I'd like to hear his opinion on it.
Yeah, right.
Well, let's
I think it's
schedule a meeting
important.
for John.
Yeah,
You're gonna work on the flat side. And that's where we're at right now? We go with that? Let's pick a date. You looking at Tuesdays yet? 15th is our regular meeting. Too soon to do the 8th, right, Kim? How many days do you need? A week?
I need 48 hours.
Well, Thursday's gonna it's gonna snow for the next 2 days.
13th?
Are you texting with John? Can
Oh, yeah,
what
let's
about the
do-
20th? Tuesday?
I'm open the 20th.
what are you looking at?
March
Tuesday,
20th.
March 20th.
I'm open.
I'm hoping.
Kim, you okay the 20th? Will, you good? Gotten 4 out of 5 so far, Will, so you're clean up. Let's go.
Because the next week you start getting into Easter week.
Good Friday.
It just depends.
Did you say you're good, Will, for the?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, here. So we're all good, so now we're just waiting on Mooney, right?
I asked them what he thought about 5 cents. If they want to do it, they should. This is the tough decision governing bodies have to make.
Tell them we don't want to do it.
Meanwhile, they say PS and it's not me.
I asked him about the 20th. He can't be here before 8-ish. Is Washington introducing that night?
Do it at 8.
What about the 19th?
I'll do it at 8.
You okay with 8 start? I don't care.
Oh, I'm fine with 8.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Do we have anything else we might want to do?
Are we allowed to start that late, Kim? There's not a thing about 7:30?
Should we make it 7?
All these budget meetings.
Why don't we make it 7:30 and we're getting here because we might have things to talk about.
Right.
while we're waiting for
Okay.
him.
Forget the
7:30?
19th?
No, we're gonna go to 20th. We're gonna start at 7:30 and John can just
He's
come.
absolutely sure he can make it here by 8?
If not, then we'll change it. But
Because if he's got something else and he's running late, blah, blah, blah. What was he
I
saying?
normally,
Is there a better day? I got his days,
well, when
so.
you said, I just said, what about the 19th then? But he definitely can't be here until 8-ish.
19th, I'm okay with the
I'm
19th.
okay with the 19th. Well,
Yeah, me too.
He's free on the 19th. Wait. Would prefer the 20th and hope to be there by 8.
I'm good with that, too.
28.
Let's do the 20th.
20th's fine with me.
At 7:30, I'll have a trust.
yeah, that way we can come and start talking,
Yeah, that's fine.
you know. Okay, we have one quick thing for executive session. So I'm looking for a motion to go into executive session to discuss,
Do I need to recuse?
yeah, but after we do personnel, matter. So I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I'm recusing,
Okay.
just for the record.
Here,
Yeah.
like crackers and issues when it's pothole.
This is recording.
Okay. Looking for a motion to come out of executive session?
Make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll come out of executive session. While in there, we discuss the personnel matter. As a result of that discussion, I'm looking for a motion to approve the attorney to take action as discussed in executive session.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Really can't. Roll call.
Rose,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Spencer,
Yes.
Marcy.
Yes. Anybody have any other business or anything you want to talk about? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.